Welcome back to this retrospective slash review of Unreal Tournament. I should say welcome to this retrospective review of Unreal Tournament. And basically what I'm going to do in this game is I'm going to kind of just give you my thoughts about the base game of Unreal Tournament. So specifically the single player portion of the game. So obviously there's a lot about this game that has been improved upon and modded by the community. So I'll kind of give a little bit of my thoughts on that, but mostly I'm just going to talk about the single player aspect of Unreal Tournament and how I feel about that. So let me just go ahead and start by saying that it's actually very heartening, I guess, to say that this game is still supported even to the present day. Like this patch that I used to play the game was from October of 2023. So literally just a couple of months ago, not even a couple of months ago, actually. So still actively supported by the community, which is really, really interesting. I actually like that aspect. The patch itself was 469D as in Delta. I believe release 4. I could be mistaken about what release it is, but basically that's the number of the patch. And yeah, it just works really well. It was very stable for the most part. I was using the XOpenGL renderer to run the game, and that worked for almost everything up until the very end on the challenge ladder when I hit the Morpheus map. And in that Morpheus map, every time I fell off the map, I would just end up the game would crash, and it was just like lock up my whole system for the most part. So it was very bad from that perspective. Fortunately, I will say I was able to swap to OpenGL to basically finish the game off. So that was nice that I was able to do that. But the game itself, for the most part, with that exception, was very stable, and I didn't actually have too many issues with the game from a stability perspective, which you would kind of expect at this point in time. A game that's been basically patched for an entire almost 25 years at this point, because it came out in 1999. So that is very interesting that it's still being maintained even to this day. Now, as far as the single player game is concerned, actually, to be fair, I had a very good time with it. The game, has 4 different modes, basically. You have deathmatch, domination, assault, and capture the flag. Now, when I played this way back in the day, capture the flag and deathmatch had already been, modes that we had seen in other first-person shooter games up to this point, so that wasn't really anything new at that point in time. So, capture the flag and deathmatch are what I would call pretty much your standard FPS type modes, and in a way, they basically focus a lot more on those 2 modes of the game, almost to the detriment of everything else. Basically, it basically the new modes, domination. Well, I believe domination is a new mode. It was new to me at the time when I played it. And I guess new is obviously relative at this point in time, considering how old the game is. But when the game came out, those modes were new, and honestly, they were probably the most fun I had with this game, was playing those challenge maps, or those ladders basically. And I wish they could have actually kind of focused more on those game modes rather than your standard deathmatch and capture the flag. But they gave them only basically a cursory use, basically, which is kind of a shame. But at the same time, I guess maybe they're just getting their feet under them at that point. Because to be fair, I will go ahead and say I've never played any other Unreal Tournament game other than this one, so it's possible that the other newer Unreal Tournaments actually did focus quite a bit on those new modes. I honestly don't know. I just wish that they had probably done more with um, assault and domination in this particular game, especially since I felt like some of the capture the flag maps were a little bit too big, and it took a very long time to get through them. A deathmatch was, well, is quite prevalent. You had to play through a lot of deathmatch maps, and even the final challenge ladder was pretty much all deathmatch. So, you know, if you enjoy those modes, it should be fine for you. But it's something that I feel like got a little tiring after a while, and a lot of that does personally come down to me and my own personal playstyle preferences. Because to be completely honest with you, I'm not a big fan of these arena style type FPS games. Uh, Now, when I was younger and this game first came out, this is the kind of stuff I used to enjoy playing all the time, and I did play it quite a bit back in the day. And especially, I think this game definitely lends itself more towards multiplayer, obviously. Um, but the I don't know. It definitely lends itself, like I said, much better to multiplayer compared to a single player campaign. In fact, there's not even any end game sequence or anything when you beat it, other than look, you got all the trophies. So from a single player perspective, the game is kind of lackluster. But that was never really truly the focus of the game. The focus of the game was basically multiplayer. So from that perspective, I can understand, um, you know, where the game lies as far as that's concerned. Um, but yeah, I would say for the most part, obviously the graphics I think still hold up. The sound, some of the music tracks in the game are just absolutely amazing. But I think the one thing that really took away a lot of my enjoyment from the game is probably the final challenge ladder, the tournament final tournament challenge. That one really just it well, it kind of sucked for lack of better words. The three lightning death match rounds were just over the top, just absolutely over the top. Um, I It took me quite a few hours just to get through those three maps, like a lot. It was kind of ridiculous, to be completely and totally honest with you. Um, I actually got through the map with Zan. I got through that one relatively quick. Um, oh, that's my guy. Getting distracted by watching this in the background. I got through the map with Zan. I mean, once I figured out how to control the map and it was just a one-on-one match, it was perfectly fine. But the one with the multiple bots and just swarming all over the place, it just felt like you needed a huge amount of luck just to get through that portion of the game. And it just really dragged down the enjoyment from a single player perspective. So, I don't want to take away too much from the game itself, because I know obviously its focus is to be basically a multiplayer game. So, and having said that, there's a lot of mods available for this game that I haven't even touched on. And I'm sure it would be a lot more fun if you were playing with friends and whatnot, and you're able to get in there and just, you know, get together with a bunch of friends, basically. I think that would be much more enjoyable than what I did. But that's fine. This, like I said, it's mostly a multiplayer focused game, and I'm more of a single player type person. So I just want to, I guess I keep trying to reiterate that because it definitely colors my perception of the game itself. I would probably rank this one from a single player perspective probably at about 85. And a big portion of that is because of how frustrating that final map is, or the final challenge ladder is extremely frustrating and just isn't any fun, to be honest with you. The match against Zan actually wasn't too bad. I do want to point that out. That actually wasn't bad at all. But getting to Zan was, well, that was the problem. So, yeah, I think for me personally, I would give this game an 85, but that's not a, I guess, what's the word? It's not overall me saying the game itself is bad. If you're more into the multiplayer aspect of these first-person shooters like I used to be back in the day, you'd probably really enjoy this game, and it still stands up even to this day. But if you're not into this style of game and you want to, well, you know, focus on shooting demons or bad guys or aliens or something something else, then this game's probably not going to be up your alley, to say the least. But it's worth a try. And personally, for me, I'm just trying to play through all these games right now to experience some of all the Unreal Engine 1 type games. So that is kind of why I want to play this. I was a little bit hesitant to even try to play it at first because didn't really know how good of a game it would be from a video making perspective, but it was not too bad, all things considered. It just it could be better, to say the least. Anyway, and I just lost. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the game. I think it is still a good game. It still holds up, and it's still supported by the community, which is great. But it's definitely more of one of those games that I think that you would be better served by playing with friends, playing online. That would be the preferred way of playing the game, and maybe even experiencing some of the mods that the game has to offer. Me personally, I'm not going to be looking to doing that because this just really isn't my cup of tea, to say the least. But, you know, if it is up your alley, then by all means, I think this is probably one of the better arena shooter style games that you can give a try. Personally, I was actually, back in the day, I was more of a fan of, say, Quake 3, oddly enough. But my brother was a big fan of Unreal Tournament, but I played both games quite a bit in the day with him, so I can see the appeal for these types of games. So yeah, definitely if you like the arena style shooters, then I would say Unreal Tournament is probably one of the better ones, especially from the late 90s, that you would definitely want to give a try. And yeah, having said that, basically, thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care.